This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
AB Supply, this is Richard.
Hey, Chris. I have a Schlage B250 that I'm trying to install into an exterior door that's been prepped for a 2 1/8 bore. And the Deadlatch itself seems a bit small. I was wondering if there's like a adapter piece to get that to fit, and if you guys can supply it.
So you've got a B250, and you bored a 2 1/8 hole, and yes, you are going to need the trim plate kit for that.
It's matte black.
Okay, that's no problem. Well, I don't know if it's stock, but we'll check. You also said something about the latch. Is there a second issue?
No, the issue is just it's a Deadlatch, and it seems to be a 1 inch and like maybe 1/8 hole that it's meant for, which is not the size of the borehole we actually have.
So a B250 is meant to go into an 1.5 inch hole.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's about right. That wasn't an exact measurement. I got a picture from my contractor that's about 1 inch, and yeah, it's a half. It looks like a half. You're right.
So they sent you a picture of what?
The actual the current trim for the Deadlatch. Yeah, the lock itself.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like someone bored a 2 1/8, and now you need the
trim piece. Yeah.
Trim ring, and it's a B250. Okay, hang on. B250. Oh, here we go. All right. So you need. Okay, that's not. How many do you need?
I need one for the inside turn piece and one for the exterior.
Okay, so you have one Deadlatch you need this for?
Yeah.
Okay, so Schlage's got 15 in stock. The problem is one doesn't get over their minimum to drop ship. How quickly do you need it?
I would like it next week if possible.
Well, so we send an order to them every 24 hours basically. So if I toss it on my stock order, I'd probably see it in about 7 days, and then I would ship it to you.
Okay. You guys can ship to California?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, I could do that.
Awesome. Let's make this happen.
Is it about $15 for each piece?
It was at about $19.75.
Okay. I was looking at the antique brass. It looks like it's on sale.
Could be. Okay. I'm going to send you over to Terry in order entry. I will tell him what you need, and he'll get the order entered. So hang on 1 second.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thanks. And I saw you guys on YouTube, which is why I contacted you.
Yeah. It seemed like that was the case, and I'm glad you found us. Do you have any questions about the B250? I mean, I remember when those locks were about 50, $60.
Yeah, they're like $200 now. It's crazy. So what I'm doing is like an electric strike, an Adams Rite electric strike with a unified door access connected to it, and like I couldn't figure out how to get it to work without this specific hardware, because a deadbolt would just not, hit the door correctly if it was locked.
A deadbolt?
Yeah, I originally scoped it with a deadbolt, but like that just doesn't work with a strike as well. So the only way I could figure out how to get the system to work was with a Deadlatch, which is why I've come to the B250. But the hole is for a deadlock.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple ways to skin that cat. You could have used a different electric strike. You could have used a different latch than what you chose. But really, you want to make sure that you select a latch compatible with the strike that you're using. And that's where the initial problem certainly came in. I don't know the projection of the latch on the B250. I don't know. I'd like to take a look at that. I'm not seeing the projection. You want to make sure that the B250 doesn't stick out further than what the strike can accommodate, meaning the projection of the latch needs to be 1/2 inch, most likely. If it's longer than that, you need to look at your electric strike to make sure that the depth of the keeper will accommodate it.
Yeah, yeah, I see.
Yeah.
I think I've read on I've gone on Reddit the Locksmith subreddit and they all recommend this Adams Wright electric strike. It has like sort of a curved and it hits nicely.
Yeah, well, I mean, Reddit's primarily full of people that don't make a living within the industry.
Well, that specific subreddit is all like real locksmith people with modern. They like kick you out if you're not a real person. But yeah, I agree. I am not sure this is going to work, but I think it will until I get this trim piece so I can try it out.
Yeah, I hear you, and that's exactly what the call was I was just on. I've got to try something next to see if it faults. All right, I'll get the order entered, and I'll email you a confirmation.
Yeah, I'm curious what alternatives I could have, though, because a different strike, there's only like one strike that does deadbolt recapture, and otherwise I would need a lever, like an actual lever, whereas I'm using this Deadlatch as the lever, and I'm putting a pull on the door.
Well, a deadbolt would have been a very poor choice. I would never have considered it. A latch is always what I would have used. I probably would not have used the B250 because of the cost, and I can tell you from actual experience the long-term health of that is going to be directly related to the amount of maintenance that's done on it. So if you neglect it and don't keep the lock clean, in 5 years it's not going to latch very well. I would never have used an Adams Wright electric strike because I don't make any robust enough. So people out there on Reddit, the Reddits of the world that haven't spent a career in hardware, they're looking at $100, $200 strikes. If you want it to work reliably, you'd never use Adams Wright. Plus, is this an exterior application?
It's an exterior front door, yeah.
That's the next problem. So you want a strike that's outdoor rated. 4, I would have picked one that can handle preload, meaning if your door is not perfect, and it's pushing against the keeper, it's not going to want to let go. But Adams Wright, actually, and others, they make really good strikes for heavy amounts of preload. So, and plus, I probably wouldn't have used the B250. I probably would have installed an Adams Wright 4501 or a 47 or a 49 series. They're cheaper, and they get the job done just as well. And the hardware's mortise, so you see a lot less of the hardware. Having said that, I love Schlage. I mean, I've got a B250 on my courtyard doors at home, and I've been selling it since, for over 30 years. So it'll be a black day when they discontinue that lock, and someday they will. Marks makes a version of it. The difference between those two is the Marks is UL listed. So if you ever needed to put one on a fire-rated door, you can't use the Schlage. They don't make a fire-rated version. So at this point, you've got a problem with the diameter of the hole that someone bored. They didn't read the instructions first or know what the lock was, because you always want a smaller amount of the door removed. You're removing the strength and integrity of the door. No big deal. Someone's going to kick it in. You know what? Fine. Come and take it. You kicked my door in. But at the end of the day, if that's your only issue, that you've got a 2.1/8-inch hole, continue on forward. The commitment's been made. So
yeah, I was looking at what was the Adams Wright you said would work?
The latches, a 45, 47, 4900 series, one of those.
Are those Deadlatch with deadbolts?
No, you don't want a deadbolt. None of those are deadbolts. You can do a deadbolt, but I just don't. I really think you would be dissatisfied with the reliability of recapturing a bolt.
Yeah. The recapture is the problem. So if I put a 4510 in, that's like a mortise.
Yeah, like I said, it's mortised. You see less of the hardware. It's captured inside.
Oh, I see.
And what's nice about it as well is it's less expensive. Assuming you have a typical door thickness, you're in good shape.
Yeah, it's a standard door.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend returning the you can't. You've got a hole drilled in your door. But I just would have done it less expensively, because it's not 1990 where that lock was $58, and now it's $258.
Yeah.
I just,
I talked to you first.
Yeah. So, you've got access control. So what's the first thing you do? You write an operational description. 4 components to that. What's the normal state of the door is 1. 2, how do I get in? 3, how do I get out? 4, what happens when the power goes out? So you write sentences that describe the binary steps that you'd go through to actually get to satisfy those 4 requirements. Then you write a hardware set that meets those requirements. You start with, you list everything that's going on the door, everything. Put your electrical hardware down at the bottom, and you've got to know how many amps, what's your voltage, what amps your load is going to ask for. Make sure that your power supply is sufficient. And all of that's really important. And once that's faithfully done, you can stand back and say, this is going to work. I'm handing this to someone, and they can't come back to me and say, this isn't going to work. And those are the steps that people that make a living selling hardware go through. And yeah, I mean, I'm on Reddit as much as anyone else. I'm in the Grand Canyon subreddit because I've hiked it twice, aquariums, and I occasionally look in carpentry because people will post a question on what to do with a split jamb. I'm like, well, here's the thing you need. But yeah, it's you're there. So
I have a question. If this doesn't work out in like 5-10 years, like I don't know, the mortise, like you can still put the mortise in. You just have to go cut the door a little bit, but the hole would stay the same, and then you would have to move the strike down. Is that like basically how you'd replace it?
You're married to what's been done if that 2 1/8 has been drilled.
But does the Adams right not accept an adapter to go into a bigger hole?
Have you found one?
I see a cylinder guard on this page.
I'm not
seeing an adapter.
I wouldn't bother looking. Yeah. So like I said, with that 2 1/8 hole, you're married to that door. Short of replacing the door, you've got to put something on there that's going to take that. Mm-hmm. That will fill that 2 1/8 inch hole. The other thing I would check.
I didn't realize that there was a 1.5 inch hole or a 2 1/8 inch hole, depending on if you're putting a deadlock versus a deadlatch. I didn't know that was a thing. That's what's catching me now.
Well, that's not really accurate because deadbolts can go. There are models that will take either diameter hole. And as you now know, the Deadlatch from Schlage will go into either hole. Mm-hmm. And that's just Schlage. There's others that will take different holes. Baldwin's a different hole. Kaba's a different hole, diameter.
But the standard hole is 2 inches and 1/8 if you say deadlock, unless you're prepping it for one of those other types, right? Well,
in my business, nothing is standard. Everything has to get, questioned and answered. If someone says to me, I'm using a B60, if someone says to me, I'm using a B250, I'm going to supply the door, the jamb, and the hardware set according to what is considered standard in the manufacturer's catalog. That's the correct industry way to do it. The error that occurred was the person who drilled the supplier or whomever drilled the door was not told what was being used, wasn't given a cut sheet or a hardware set, or just assumed, yeah, it'll work, or just that's what my tool does. I can't drill any other size hole, because I hear that all the time as well. But it's at the end of the day, it's no biggie. It wouldn't be how I would want to do it. But if I was you, I wouldn't make my door guy replace the door because of that. I might, had you told them what you were using, I might go back to them and say, yeah, I'm going to need to split the cost of this trim ring with you. Because this trim ring, this adapter kit, they're a fortune.
$70 is crazy for just trim. That makes the lock itself cost $300.
It's obscene, and that's why I know someday they're going to discontinue it, because they do it every time. When the price starts to go elliptical on the Y is when I know it's a precursor to discontinuation. So actually, for the last 2 years, I've been hoarding those from Schlage. I've got cases of them because after 3.5 decades, I know the behavior. Like, they had their 400 series. It's the same as the 250, except it was grade 1 and a deadbolt for 1.5 inch hole. And then their E series, and that was discontinued maybe 25, 30 years ago. And if I had a skid of those, that old grip series, if I had a warehouse full of them, it would be crazy. How the demand is ridiculous because of the unique prep that they take. Now, before I forget, There is probably one other thing that you should check. What backset they put that hole at. Because the B250, the standard backset is 2 3/8. Most people will not know that because they're like, oh, it's 2 3/4. But you might need a 2 3/4 latch because if they ship the B250 as standard, then you've got the wrong backset.
So see, that's the one thing I knew to confirm was the backset. I didn't know to confirm the hole.
Okay.
That's the problem.
Okay, that's good.
I didn't know holes could come in different sizes, and that's unfortunate because we could have prepped this better. Now, you said maintain the dead latch. What does that mean? I have to oil it and take it apart?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when it doesn't retract nicely, and I'm not really convinced that the curvature of the latch on the B250 is really best suited for electric strikes, even though they're used countless times. Over the years, they stopped latching because the amount of force it takes to do two things. Close and latch the door, that's one. But during the process of latching the door, you have to have enough residual energy in the closing device to actually depress the latch and still pull the door closed. That latch, if you hold it between your index finger and your middle finger, then use your thumb to push the face of the latch, the curved latch, and you're like, yeah, that's pretty heavy right there. That's good stuff. But over time, you don't really get that door closed and latched. I really don't see them work really well long term. So, like on my house, that latch has got to get cleaned. I initially used WD-40 just to help break it up. It gets washed, and then the manufacturer's original lubrication goes back in there. I think I've always used white lithium, a small amount of it, just to make it.
You actually take the latch out of the hole?
Oh, you do a complete disassembly. Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
But it's like anything else. I mean, if you're going to change, you're going to change the oil in your car, but you'll know when the door stops latching, you'll know that it's time to do some maintenance on something.
Now, does it stop latching automatically? You can still push it closed, or does it just stop latching completely?
Yeah, the problem with just pushing it closed is you may not be able to forcibly push the door closed without really pushing it hard because of the wear and tear on the latch and the fact that it's not brand new, and that metal is what they call self-lubricating, so it's actually slippery to begin with. But we're also talking normal maintenance, the joys of home ownership. Anything you're going to do, it's just going to need maintenance. And I don't believe, unless it's an extremely corrosive exterior environment, I really wouldn't worry about it initially. What's the closing device on the door?
There's no auto closer. It's just going to be weighted.
Weighted?
Yeah. I'm just going to push it closed, really.
Oh, okay. So, but you've got access control on the opening. You're relying on the person that is buzzed in to always close and latch that door.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then, of course, the function of the lock set. What else is installed on this? Just the B250 and then a pull handle you said was going on?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not really ideal because to get out, it's now two simultaneous operations.
Yeah, so I've hooked up a doorbell button to the left side of the door. You just push that thing and then the strike opens and you pull.
Uh-huh. Okay. So, yeah, you temporarily close the circuit and you can pull it open. So, yeah, I mean, obviously when the power goes out, whomever is there needs to know it's a two simultaneous step operation to egress.
Yeah, it's the thumb turn then.
Thumb turn and pull, absolutely.
Thumb turn and pull, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so can you believe it, but people just make a living doing exactly what you and I just talked about, figuring out how stuff is supposed to work and then poking holes into it and saying, is that really what you want? Is that really what you want to do?
I mean, the alternative is a smart deadlock, or like you said, I had gone with a different deadlatch. And the smart deadbolts are kind of, they also have issues with eventually like failing. And I've had ones where it just starts like constantly repeating itself, like opening and closing and opening and closing. So I don't know if there's like a great option here.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Home Depots of the world that sell those, and I've got a hospital that uses them. It's a race to the bottom on margin for that stuff, and so they're really residential grade. Now there are commercial grade caliber types of material like that, but they're $1,000, $2,000. They're meant to be grade one, heavy duty commercial. But at the end of the day, again, we're back to what we were saying. Hardware is like anything else. It's like the oil in your car. It's going to have to be replaced sooner or later.
Now, are you saying that this B250 is going to go out of stock or stop being? But like, there will always be a replacement deadlatch that fits that form factor, you think, or like, am I screwed in 20 years?
Well, so it's my theory that they'll discontinue it. Now, what's very interesting about the latter of what you said was the latch that you have for that lock right now is well, it's not identical, but it is utterly compatible to that E-Series grip that they were shipping in the 1940s and 50s. I've had people call and say, I've got an E-grip, my latch has failed. What decade is it from? I don't know. The house was built in 57. And sure enough, I can sell them a B250 latch, and it works just perfect. But every hardware manufacturer unapologetically discontinues material with absolutely no replacement, none whatsoever. Will that happen to you in your period of time that you care? Probably not. I wouldn't worry about it. But there's only two people there used to be more than two. Kwikset used to make one, actually. And the marks no one ever hears of, and people don't buy the Schlage anymore because how costly it is.
Yeah.
But it all goes back to, you've got a 2 1/8-inch hole in your door, so bring it home, finish it up at this point.
Yeah. I just don't, 20 years from now, what's the replacement pattern? It sounds like either I can get another deadlatch just like this, or I'd have to go more teeth to the door.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That hole's not right.
Well, is your door paint grade?
It is fiberglass painted.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so you can't. Yeah, there's a procedure that carpenters use called a Dutchman, and it's where you basically fill the hole with wood, glue and wood, and you re-prep it after it's dry. But it's impossible to tell. Schlage could continue to make that B250. I don't know the oldest catalog I've seen it in. I may have seen it in a catalog from the 60s. It could go on forever. I just don't know. And the engineers at Schlage, they don't know either. It's really, they're not making the decisions.
I'm trying to do the same thing on my pedestrian gate, which is going to have a steel hinge and a steel door frame around it so it doesn't sag. Do you recommend going with the Adams Right in that case rather than trying to get another B250?
What's the application and what's the composition of the door and frame?
It's steel. And then it's connected to a stucco post, which is concrete.
So you've got a steel gate?
Steel gate, yeah. It's going to be a wood gate, but it's going to have a steel frame.
And do you need to have access control on it?
Yeah.
Well, and this is going to be completely exposed to the elements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would use a Trine EN400 electric strike. Actually, I wouldn't use that at all. I would look for, the problem with what I would do is I would use a mortise lock that would allow electrical control over the lever trim, and I wouldn't electrify the strike at all. I find that electric strikes are unreliable long term, so I like to do the electrification in the lock cassette when I can.
How do you run electrify through a wooden steel frame door?
Oh, there's power transfer devices to get low voltage. Through the hanging device is how you would generally do it.
Oh, and you just drill it through the wood to get to the lock set.
That's called a raceway. Absolutely.
I see. Well, I don't think I've prepped it for electric strike at this point. There's wires in the post that are going to be on the. I guess I could switch the hinges around.
Well, yeah. In this case, but if you've already prepped the jam, then the conversation's moot because you're either going to re-prep or replace the jam or just put in there whatever you prepped it for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is there a good more keys deadlatch then for this application?
I would personally use a mortise cassette by Accurate. They make mortise locks, mortise bodies. They're in Connecticut, Accurate Lock. They make them in narrow back sets. I like mortise. Now, everything I'm saying is a lot more money than what you've spent on this first go-through. So if it was me, I would use a mortise cassette by Accurate, same sort of form that the Adams Wright stuff is, but the Adams Wright material is far lower quality in terms of it's just mass production aluminum storefront hardware. I'd use a mortise lock by Accurate, narrow back set, whatever the function is that you need it to be, latch, dead latch, whatever the case is. I would absolutely make sure that my strike was compatible with that before I did anything. And then I would add a cylinder, and I would add and frankly, I would put lever trim on the inside only and no lever trim on the outside, or I would put lever trim on the outside. I'd have a key on the outside so that I could get in the event of a power outage. But on the inside, I'd have a knob or a lever, so I wasn't going through the whole, two-step operation. And in fact, the way that you've wired it, for sure, is the way that it's likely going to be wired is absolutely afoul of NFPA 101. That the way that you open the circuit is a very specific way that has to be wired the way in which you're using it, because you're making it such that egress is now not a knowing act.
Mm-hmm.
So it's residential. There's not going to be an inspector. Everyone there knows how it works. So it's probably not going to ever be a problem. But doing it on a commercial basis, it would have to be thought through more.
With the commercial, you'd have to do like a classroom lock, right?
No, it would never be a classroom. You always, on electric strikes, you always do storeroom functions. Or
storeroom function, yeah.
Yeah. So I would put trim on the inside. So all I had to do is rotate the knob or the lever and egress, fancy word for get out. On the outside, it could just be a push plate, buzz. I hear the buzz, push the door open. I got a key cylinder on the outside for those times when I can't get in because the power's out. And, self-closing devices are always, you get points off the test if you don't have a closing device on access control. The reason you're putting it on there is to keep the thing secured. And if you don't have a means by which to relatch the door, the hardware is not complete. In your application, it's perfect. I like to use electric deadbolts is what I like to use. They're concealed.
But you gotta get the electricity through the hinge, like you said, right?
No. Electric deadbolts can go into the jam depending on the construction of the jam. SDC makes electric deadbolts. I love those. I use them to bits. It's got a door position switch, so it knows when to bolt. It won't try to bolt if the door is not closed. It's a little
interesting. So the bolt actually comes from the jam?
Yeah, that's where I like to install them whenever I can, because it reduces the complication of getting power through an unusual door.
How do you open the deadbolt if the power's out?
Well, you have to do the same sort of thing that you're doing. You have to have some means of opening the circuit or closing the circuit on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
You have
but
to
if
have
the power's out?
Well, we would do in that case is you would have the electric deadbolt. They make a model that takes cylinders. So on the inside, you would have a mortise thumb turn, so that you could turn the thumb turn and manually pull the deadbolt back.
Oh, okay, but I thought the deadbolt was coming from the jam in this case that you were talking about, which can.
It is.
How does the thumb turn affect that action?
It doesn't. You're not installing it in the door, you're installing it in the jam.
Oh, I see. So the jam actually has a thumb turn.
You would literally think of that jam like it's a door. Really narrow and probably very thick door.
Yep, I see.
Cylinder override electric deadbolts are what they are.
Okay. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, you bet. No problem at all. And I will get your order entered, and you'll have it. And I hope report back to me. Let me know how it all turns out. Send me pictures. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.